All right. So it is 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the February 16th meeting of the Canandaigua Town Board to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Terry Finley.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands liberty and justice for all.
All right, Jean, can you confirm that the meeting was properly advertised?
Yes.
All right, and I skipped over the roll call, so let's go ahead and call the roll.
Sure. Councilman Gary Davis.
Present.
Councilwoman Karen DeMay.
Present.
Councilman Terry Fennelly.
Present.
Councilwoman Adeline Rudolph.
Present.
Supervisor Jared Simpson.
Present. All right, thank you. We do have written communications, and they're coming out, and they're also located in the attachments inside the town board agenda. So that brings us to our first. Do we have anybody who has to be heard? All right, seeing no hands, that takes us to priority business. I would like to do birthdays under priority business because I think they're always a priority. So we have, between now and our next town board meeting, we have a gentleman a few seats down. We have Terry Fennelly, February 18th. We have Catherine Sandick, February 20th. Kim Burkhardt, February 21st. Our very own Doug Finch, March 9th. Rebecca Doyle, March 18th. Bob Kinney, March 19th. And Dylan Crazy also on March 19th. So a very happy birthday to all those who will have birthdays in the next month. And may it be happy birthday, and may it be wonderful, and everything that you wish for.
As long as they keep going around, Jared.
All right, that's everything that we wish for.
That's
so
all I want.
let's wish for that. Okay, that brings us to our presentations. So we have Rob Richardson with us tonight. Welcome. From Clean Energy Communities, and he's a coordinator for the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council with some information on the Community Choice Aggregation program. Rob, Mr. Richardson, the time is yours.
Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here tonight to speak to the town. My name is Rob Richardson. As has been said, I'm the Clean Energy Communities Coordinator for the Genesee Finger Lakes region. I work out of the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council. And I'm here today to talk about two specific portions of the Clean Energy Communities program that the town has shown some interest in, community choice aggregation, as well as climate smart communities. Doug, if you want to skip to the next, like the fourth slide, and go right into the presentation, that would be good. So let's start here. This is a baseline right now of everything that NYSERDA has credited the town of Canandaigua for completing in the CEC program. As you can see, you guys have 5 high impact action items and 800 points. You were recently a designated community as of June 8th of 2021, so congratulations for that. There is a 0 on that. That's universal for everyone in New York State because that version of the code training applied to an antiquated version of the code. So there is a new one available on March 3rd in the village of Lima if you guys wanted to send a code enforcement officer and get an easy 200 points towards your overall total. But this is kind of important because it really sets the frame for the next 2 items that we're going to talk about and how the point totals associated with those could bring additional money to the town of Canandaigua. Next slide, please. So these are the high impact action items that are available in the program. I leave these here just to give you guys an idea of what is available for you. But the 2 in green are the 2 that we're going to talk about specifically tonight. And that is the Climate Smart Community Certification, as well as the Community Choice Aggregation Program. I do want to touch on some of the recent news that was in the media about the Community Choice Aggregation Program, and particularly around bills that several people in this area received. RG&E did not do the program any favors by punting the responsibility for that back into the lap of community choice aggregation. It's not necessarily a true statement. Those bills were the result of a provider who had an error on their end. It was in no way, shape, or form associated with the community choice aggregation program. The Community Choice Aggregation Program is actually really designed to prevent that from happening by setting a lower fixed rate for residents. So when we talk about that a little bit, we'll get into more detail, but I did want to touch on that early, that this is a good program. It's still worth considering, and there's still a lot of merit to it despite some of the negative press that you've seen recently. Next slide, please. So the Climate Smart Community Certification is a 600-point item in my program, which obviously would move you guys to the needle towards 3,000 points, which is the first grant threshold that you can achieve. Where not my program, the CEC program really focuses on clean energy. Climate Smart Communities is a much broader stroke. So we're dealing with comprehensive planning with sustainability elements, land and water use, farmland conservation, community outreach and education, solid waste reduction. It's a much larger program with a lot more opportunities. The CEC program has 14 high impact action items. This program has 143. So as I was working with Doug and staff on the CEC certification, we started to talk about this as well, because a lot of the things that are requirements in this program are items that you can get credit for in this program are things that governments are doing day to day anyway. So we started to talk about the items on that list and trying to figure out how close the town was actually to achieving a Climate Smart Community certification. And the rough estimates that we did had you guys, if not a certified community, very close. So we've been encouraging communities to consider this program as well as the CEC program, because this opens up a line of consolidated funding through the CFA process every year, specifically designated for Climate Smart Communities. Next slide, please. This graphic shows you just how the programs are related and fit together. They are intentionally designed to work off of each other and to support each other. So everything that you're accomplishing in the CEC program, you're accomplishing at the same time in the CSC program, and every item in the program correlates. Next slide, please. And this slide really represents that. So on the left column is the items that are in the CEC program, and on the right column is the specific high impact actions that it impacts or that you can earn credit for in the Climate Smart Communities program. Next slide, please. So the first 36 points that you earn out of the 120 needed for certification is simply by agreeing to participate. You pass a resolution agreeing to be a Climate Smart Community and take that pledge. You form a task force, and this task force is a group of people, citizens, staff, community members who all work together to try and move the needle on environmental or sustainability issues in the town. They're meant to help support the work of the municipality, give extra hands, provide additional support and resources so that it's more of a community effort and not just something that the municipality is doing. I was fortunate enough to be the Climate Smart Communities Task Force leader when I was the Assistant City Manager in Canandaigua. And it was a really great experience for me. It gave me the opportunity to interact with the community, learn about what was important to the residents, and ultimately help to move the needle on some of the things that the city was working on. Next slide, please. Some of the benefits to being a climate smart community or a designated climate smart community is you can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in your community substantially. The program is designed to be a framework that's all voluntary, where the community can pick and choose the items that are important or that it sees as a priority. However, everything in the program has an impact and moves the needle on greenhouse gas emissions. There's also the potential to save taxpayer dollars. Some of the items in both programs deal with infrastructure or HVAC systems or lighting, things that directly impact your general fund and tax levy and how you pay for those. So theoretically, if you were to convert all the street lights and you're spending less money now on street lighting, you now have more money to use in other programs or to reallocate in your tax levy otherwise. You can increase energy security and reliability. Communities that have put solar arrays and have been able to offset the cost for their municipal operations and the energy that is required to use. So you also build resiliency within the community by having green renewable opportunities or options for a variety of things. You advance community goals for health and public safety, and you support a green innovation economy. As we move towards electric vehicles, as we move towards electric buildings, as we see a proliferation of solar arrays and windmills being installed all over the country, there's going to be opportunities for work and good paying jobs. So having these initiatives in your community opens the doors for those kinds of opportunities and can potentially be a job creator. Next slide, please. And why become certified? Increased access and better scores on grant applications for some state funding programs like the DEC CSC grants, state level recognition for each community's leadership, a framework to help guide what the community may or may not want to do. Again, this is a voluntary program with lots of options. So you as a town can decide the things that you feel like are the most important or the priorities, the things that you want to work on. And then we at Genesee Finger Lakes can help you guys do that and help you move the needle on those programs. Next slide, please. So I've already talked to some of the members of staff about this and helped them kind of game plan the items that they may or may not have completed. Once we had a solid baseline established and knew whether or not you were already a climate smart community or how close you were, we could then strategically pick items that were either quick to execute or that the town wanted to do to help you guys close that gap on the points that you would need. We would also help you guys maximize the overlap between the two programs, help you guys with resources on any of the projects that you need. My partner Jenny and I, who work on this project together, really take a lot of pride in never wanting administrative burden or not having enough hands in the office to be an impediment to a community being successful. So we really do try and go out of our way to help as much as we can. Next slide, please. So truth be told, community choice aggregation is probably my favorite item in the program. I think it's a really powerful statement when an entire community comes together and makes a demand for how it wants its community to be powered. So it can be one community, it can be an aggregation of several communities, but the goal really is to go to market and get a fixed price on electric for a 1 or 2 or 3 year span traditionally that stabilizes the price of that commodity in your community. For example, the city of Canandaigua right now is running on a CCA agreement and has been since January 1st of last year. We're paying 4.292 cents per kilowatt hour on the supply side for all of our electric, regardless of what's going on right now in the market. So it gives your residents a little bit of stability and knowing that they're not going to be impacted by the fluctuation in electric prices. It's also 100% renewably sourced, so it's working towards the state's climate goals of having 100% of electricity be renewably generated by 2040. It's also a massive point total item in this program. So if you look at the 800 points that the town already has, the potential 200 for code enforcement training, and then these two items, you've already eclipsed the 3,000 point mark and are now eligible for a grant, a $10,000 grant that's match free that you can use on any number of clean energy initiatives. There's also an opt-out community distributed generation, which is community solar, that can be added onto that. It's kind of on hold right now with the Public Service Commission as they're kind of determining how they want that program to play out at the state level. But what's great about that component is that it's a guaranteed savings that comes back to residents through a credit on their bill every month. So it's usually anywhere between 9 and 11%. Once you have that ability to offer that mechanism, it acts as a really nice buffer with community choice aggregation in the event that for whatever reason the commodity went below your negotiated price. It still helps your residents save money on the program overall. Next slide, please. So community choice aggregation is an energy purchase program that was authorized by the PSC to allow municipalities to aggregate their demand and negotiate bulk purchase prices. So what you see here is a traditional mix for the electric that you get in the city of Rochester. A substantial portion of it, 70% of it's already renewable. However, there's still a 30% portion that's coming from fossil fuels. And the goal of community choice aggregation is really to try and eliminate fossil fuels from that supply chain. Next slide, please. By doing that, you create carbon-free electricity mix. This is something that is going to become more prevalent as the state moves towards its stated climate act goals. There are windmills being built offshore right now, which are going to help with the generation of this and contribute to the supply to meet demand. But ultimately, the goal is to help the state run on a carbon-free system where we're not having the same type of GHG emissions or smog that I remember seeing on the news as a kid around New York City with the big clouds around the buildings. This is going to really work to eliminate that and improve the quality of life and the air quality statewide. So it's a really simple process should the town choose to engage it. And I know that there's already been some discussions with some of the potential players you would enact legislation saying that you are going to allow the town to explore community choice aggregation. It's non-binding. All it does is allow you to start to look at this as a potential option. Once you do that, you would want to select a third-party administrator. The third-party administrator more or less takes the ball and carries it for you over the goal line for the remainder of the program. So there's no administrative burden for staff, with the exception of maybe one person who acts as a point, helps share information so that everybody's on the same page, and kind of helps them with the messaging. That was part of my role when I was with the city, and it was not a big time constraint or burden on what I had to do. So it wouldn't be something potentially that would be difficult for somebody on the team to take up. They do everything from your community engagement to go to market for you to your implementation plan, which is really what the important part of it is. What's nice about the program is that at no point in time are you obligated to sign any type of agreement. There is no contract, there is no cost to the third-party administrator services. You can get all the way to the point where you have contracts and offers for electric, and if you don't like the prices, you can walk away and simply just not move forward. So even choosing to enact the CCA legislation, it's more exploratory than anything that's binding the town to move forward. Next slide, please. We can help with this at Genesee Finger Lakes in a variety of ways. We can help with the RFP process to select a third-party administrator. We can help with the community outreach and engagement. We can help with that education campaign, which is really critical and a PSC requirement that the communities who enact CCA do a substantial community outreach campaign of at least 3 months. I would recommend maybe a little bit longer, because the more you have the opportunity to communicate this to residents, the more comfortable they're going to be potentially with the switch when it does happen, if it does happen. And then we can really do anything that you guys need us to support not just these 2 items, but any of the other items in the program. So I could deluge you with information, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to lose anybody. But the biggest takeaway from this is that we are here to help. This slide is a bunch of resources that you can utilize to learn about the CEC and the CSC program, including toolkits. Those are how-tos for every single item in the program, templated legislation, templated MOUs, really anything that you would need to execute any of the items in this program. Next slide. But the main message that I want to let you guys know today is that we're here to help. We're here to do whatever we can to support the goals of the town in this arena or in the climate smart communities arena. I personally love this work. It was my favorite part of my job when I worked for the city. So now to have the opportunity to do it with a 9-county region is something I really am excited about. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about either CCA, CSC, or the program in general.
Are there many communities undertaking this? Are you looking at community choice aggregation, for example?
Yes. So right now, there's 2 main players that have agreements in the area. There's Good Energy, who has an agreement with the town of Penfield, and then there's Jewel and Rocktricity, which kind of round everyone else out. They have, I believe, 10 communities on CCA agreements. So we're talking, a little over 10% of our region right now is on a CCA agreement of some kind, including the city of Rochester, which is a massive municipality. So that was a big win for sure.
The amount of power that's available to devote to this, I mean, it's got to be finite. I mean, maybe it's expanding over time. Mm-hmm. Is it close to being tapped?
So in terms of the renewables supply itself, no. There's enough of that to go around. It would never be a situation where, the town hit its demand limit and then everybody on a CCA agreement lost power. Or if, there was a loss of electricity, only CCA customers would lose it. It uses all the same delivery mechanisms. So the service, the ampage, everything would be consistent with all the power customers in and around your region. The community solar aspect is a little bit more challenging because there's a lot of demand on that right now and not really enough solar arrays to support that. So what we're seeing is a lot of buildup happening in the surrounding areas. Several counties and communities on the west side of the region are in the process of exploring these projects or building these projects out. So part of this is going to be the state kind of getting everything up to snuff so that it can meet that demand. And now that it has the Climate Act in law and codified, they're going to have to. So there is going to be a gradual buildup. There is going to be gains made over time. The governor has devoted a lot of time, energy, and money towards green energy. So it's going to be a process, and it's going to be a learning experience for all of us as we all kind of move towards this. But the one thing that we do know for sure is that the way that we power our vehicles, and in many cases, the way that we heat and cool our homes, are the biggest impact on the general air quality and quality of life that we have in terms of the environment. So finding ways to do that in a way that's going to reduce that impact while saving people money is something that is going to be really important.
What about the third party assistance? Who typically does that? You or
So
is that?
that's a great question. In order to be a third-party administrator, you have to be PSC approved. So there's a fairly lengthy process that you go through to get vetted by the PSC to be able to provide those services. I do not have that qualification. There are 4 in our region right now that could potentially provide that service that have been approved. Any one of them would be a great option. It would really be about choosing the group of people that you felt like you would work best with and that you felt like would do the best job of communicating this out to the community. Joule has been a very popular option, Rocktricity in our region, but there's also Mega, there's Good Energy, and there's one more that's escaping me right now.
Do you have a handle or a guess amount on the amount that usually those RFPs are coming back? Is there a range for the cost for that third party?
There's no cost for the RFP. So the third party administrator gets their compensation through whatever the agreed upon rate is when they sign the contract. So you would never have to pay them anything. The RFP process is it's not even one that you really need to do. I would recommend it just because it gives you an opportunity to see what your options are. But there's never any cost to the municipality for any of the services provided by the third party.
There's no upfront
Mm-mm.
fees or anything to
Nope.
get started in that.
So, going down the road, say we do this, because I know we have a resolution to help kind of kickstart the process. What's your role in the process after that? Let's say a few years down the road, we're like, we want to put solar panels on, just for the town in particular, to improve our rating, put solar panels on the highway garage. Can you help facilitate that through the grants and through things like that?
We can provide information on different resources and technology. We can provide RFPs and anything that you would need to potentially procure those services. We could also, as the third party administrator is working within the community, support those efforts as well, and engage with town residents and help them learn and understand about what may or may not be happening if the town were to choose to sign an agreement.
And then, so similar, because I know some, I don't know if others have, we've been able to individually apply, get energy through the ESCO, the energy supply companies. This is really just the same thing, but as a community, so there's no real risk to loss.
No, and
of anything in that regard.
What's nice about having it be a community approach as opposed to just an individual household is you have greater buying power. You have more people coming to the table. There's more demand. So in theory, the larger the aggregation that you have, the lower the price you can achieve on your energy. We do know that from its all-time low, electric has rebounded recently and it has gone back up. But if the town were to start this process now and then go through the community outreach and education campaign, you guys might be in September, October before you're actually looking to go to market, and there could have been a substantial shift in the commodity and had it go down. So I know this doesn't need to just make sense in terms of SE and SE. It needs to make sense, CENTS. So it's got to be a good financial decision for town residents. So it's possible that you guys go to market the first time, you don't like what you get, and you go back a second time. When the city did ours, we were at an all-time low for the commodity, and we couldn't get anybody to talk to us about a fixed agreement for long-term pricing. So now the market has improved. It's definitely more commodity friendly, but that's going to change and it's going to fluctuate. And that's where the CCA agreement's nice, because whatever happens with that, it's locked in, and that's the price that you're paying per kilowatt hour.
Is there a certain number of years that you're paying that price for? Or?
Good question. Traditionally, you can do 1, 2, or 3 year agreements. What I've seen. What's nice about those is that, you know, in the event that towards the end of an agreement, the commodity goes up and you have a negative arbitrage, you can then go back to the table and renegotiate a new agreement. So there's benefits to being able to do it in a shorter term contract for both sides.
Well, it certainly bounced back last month in my house and my bill that I got, I know. We had, I don't know if you've seen it, Rob, but we have a resolution in here. We, being novices in this area, we reached out to our engineering company and asked them if they had any experience in this, could they help us along the way here? Mm-hmm. We have a proposal from them in one of the resolutions tonight. But is that really necessary?
You know, that's,
I mean,
it depends. It depends on how much time and effort and energy your community wants to devote, and how much of a priority they want to make this. In the CEC program, all that grant funding is first come, first serve. So there's still a lot of it there. Most of it is still there because we're still early in the program. But at some point, we're going to start to hit a spot where the grant awards are going to be taken up and they're not going to be as readily available. Having somebody that can really drive that ship for you consistently is going to go a long way to helping you guys meet your goals in this arena. If it can't be a member of staff and you guys want to use an outside agency to do that, that's also completely appropriate. But I would say that if you don't have somebody in-house that can kind of drive this for you, and these are initiatives that you really want to move forward with, then having an extra set of hands would probably be a good choice.
Well, we had somebody until last Friday.
I know, she was fantastic.
She's gone now, so.
She was awesome.
Yeah, really, absolutely.
I have a question.
Sure.
So the areas of energy, so you've got fossil fuel, air, what do I want to say?
Hydro, wind, nuclear.
Is that based on our community?
So what you saw was a traditional mix for Rochester, New York.
Okay.
We could probably figure out what the traditional mix is for you down here, but that was data that I just had readily available. I would say that that's probably fairly consistent though. Because as the electric companies, their goal is to provide a product that is as cheap for them to produce as possible. So it's going to tend to have more coal or more natural gas involved as opposed to renewables to try and keep that price down.
What would the next step be?
Well, if you guys wanted to pursue CCA, I would say the next step would be to pass an enacting legislation, and then we can talk about helping you guys find a third-party administrator, and we can help you with that process as well. With the CSC, it would be a matter of me working with whoever you guys choose to put into that role to kind of help bring them up to speed with where you guys are, and then plot a course forward. When I met with Kaylin and Sarah over the summer, when we sat down with that list, you guys, if I remember correctly, you guys are a climate smart community. We just don't have the documents submitted yet.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of kind of aggregating all that information, making sure it meets the requirements for the program, and then getting it in on one of the submission windows. The next one is in April. The last one for the year is in July, because the DEC only accepts the CSC applications at 3 points during the year. But, you know, with where you're sitting now, you guys are on the precipice of starting to tap into grant money if you guys move forward with this stuff. So I would love to support you guys and help you however I can if you guys wanted to pursue these.
What's going on across the state? I mean, you can speak to your region, what you hear from outside your region.
It's funny. Each of our regions, you know, even though we're in the same state, is very unique in its own way. So, you know, we have our region, which is vastly different than like the Mid-Hudson Valley or the Capital Region or Long Island or the North Country, where there's hundreds of miles, but also hundreds of people. So it definitely depends. You know, each region kind of has its challenges. You know, right now, the challenge that we're dealing with is the information about community choice aggregation and how that was presented in the media. That's our biggest challenge right now. And communities that we've talked to and encouraged them to pursue that have come back with concerns about what they saw on the news and dealing with that issue. There's also a couple other really exciting opportunities coming up for counties in this program, which could benefit the communities as well. So it's an evolving program, and that's one of the things that's cool about it is NYSERDA is committed to making sure that it's an optimum program that has as much opportunity for every community as possible. So it's constantly changing and it's constantly being updated, and things are being added and tweaked to make it more attractive.
Any other questions? Gary, do you have anything?
No, things have been pretty well covered that I have any concern on.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your
All right,
time.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help.
All right, Deputy. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
Move to half the audience.
I know. Yeah, you're really our only guest. Bye.
Leaf has to be here because he's
Yeah,
on the agenda.
I know. Everybody else kind of is. So, all right. We do not have any continued public hearings. And we do not have any new public hearings at this time. So this brings us to our report of town officials. Jim?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. I do not see Pam, anything from the assessor's office. Leaf, historian.
You got a door.
I know.
See that
You got a
door.
door.
Did you carry it down here?
Yeah, we've got-
So thank you. So, the door is from Titchener Cottage.
We
We're
checked it
getting
out.
one more. Shauna, I'm gonna throw you under the bus. So this was, Shauna and Leaf had a conversation. And I think you were the genius behind that. And Doug was also involved in this, because he's the one that said, wow, there's cool doors on the Titchener Cottage. And I think maybe he and Shauna had a conversation before I got.
Do they know we have the doors?
So if you,
They do.
Okay, just wanted to I'm just checking.
so you guys can see that it's got like a really cool texture. To kind of give it like an Adirondack twig look. And the door it's either southern red pine, which was kind of a desirable wood back in the day, or it's chestnut. They're very similar. And so it's one of those, and it was put through like a custom process to do that. They even did it to some of the shingles. There was some kind of a press that was brought on site, and Doug, had heard some anecdotal information. So somehow the carpenter was an old world craftsman.
From Germany, what I
Yeah.
understand. Right, yeah.
Somehow he ran his lumber, dimensional and shingles and all of it through this press to create that look. So we're gonna get another one. I'm gonna go yank another door tomorrow. And the upstairs conference room will probably be the location. They'll be mounted on the wall, and then on the back side of the lights at the top, we're thinking a photographic image from maybe like Titchener Point, winter, maybe a summer scene. So it literally looks like you're looking out the door. And we'll have a little identifier for the, some kind of a plaque that says where they're from. So that's that. Credit to Shauna. And they were donated by Doug Bennett, by the way, who all bought Titchener. So the only other thing I have is Richard West will be mounting the maps out here in the hall.
There.
Are they up now? You wanted that a couple days ago. So that's, I want to say that's Richard West. He deserves all the credit for that. A couple members of that history team worked very hard to accomplish those things. So I think public acknowledgement is more than due.
That's the hallway, just going down to the ordinance. So everybody knows they're all
Oh.
inside. They look really cool.
So yeah, avail yourselves. And I got a cool call. This is just fun, okay? Nothing more fluff. I had a cool call yesterday, on Monday, from a gentleman out in Sioux Falls. And he said he had a wire recording. You're too young to know a wire recording. You might historically, but there was such a thing as
He's
a wire recording.
2 years older than me,
That's right. But he's a history nerd. So there's a wire recording is another method of doing audio recording. And that came into being about the same time as reel-to-reel tape. And they used it, they were still using it during the Second World War, both tape and wire recording, and they sent a wire recorder up with a P-47 Thunderbolt pilot to record his combat. And he was a Canandaigua guy. And this Canandaigua guy was Colonel Francis Perigo. So I don't know if anybody knows any Perigos in our area. I'd love to talk to them. And so Francis went on, did some he had a very successful career, let's put it that way. But we have this recording of him in combat that's being sent to us. We're gonna give a copy to the it's over in Louisville and OCHS, and then I'm gonna hand it off to Gene, who's gonna give it to Lisa, and Lisa's gonna go down and stick it in the archive. So that's kind of cool. Maybe we'll find a way to put it up on the town website. But
So where, I mean, do we have the ability to?
yes, we can make digital, because we're gonna get a digital copy. We're gonna get an MP3 of it. So, and Frank must have been a pretty daring devil, because on Thanksgiving Day 1943, he flew his P-47 Thunderbolt down Main Street, Canandaigua. He buzzed Main Street in his fighter. And he also went on to be a guy to fly the very first fighter jets, the command of squadron of the very first fighter jets.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to find a hero of Canandaigua. That's all I had for you.
Well, the guy who used to be at the CAG headquarters
Yeah.
years ago. I don't know what that's for.
Not
They
sure.
related. I mean, it's not like Smith. I mean,
If anybody has any, stop, show, share, names,
Lynn
numbers.
Paulson might know.
What's that?
Lynn Paulson, city historian.
Yeah. So, yeah, and if anybody thinks of anything, or again, back to Shauna. Shauna, great job, Shauna.
the doors, you get the keys too.
No,
What's that?
You get the keys for the doors too.
No, but I got the screws for the hinges.
all right, thank you, Lee. All right, Gene, town clerk.
Nothing further. Yep.
All right, planner, Shauna.
Hi, thank you, Lee, for going down there today. It's really exciting. So we're gonna get it mounted and displayed like he was saying. So stay tuned for that. And also, I did tell Doug today, and Leaf knows this as well, but the Landmark Society was down there last week at Tishner, and as soon as that article comes out, I will distribute it to the board so we can take a look at what was documented. I did want to mention, because an email went out from me today, that we are doing a CIC project team kickoff meeting on the 1st of March at 6:30 in the chambers. If you didn't get that email and would like an invite, let me know, but I'm assuming that most likely everybody saw it today. And what we're really gonna do is have representatives from each team talk about what they've done, what they did in 21 and goals for 22, and then do breakout groups for each team. So I just wanted to mention that. That'll be, again, the 1st at 6:30.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we don't have HR. Town manager, Doug.
Just to piggyback on Shauna's meeting there, just so everybody's aware, so tomorrow night, we have by Zoom the Auburn Trail meeting at 6 p.m. That's Zoom only. And Shauna mentioned the one on 3-1, the CIC meeting at 6:30. And then on 3-2, we have a meeting here for Cheshire. So just make sure everybody knows. We're gonna see a lot of.
What do we
No
have?
town board meetings?
What do we have on the 3rd?
On the 3rd? And then
Yeah.
hopefully.
Nothing on the 3rd?
We can figure something out if you want.
Yeah, just let me know.
Yep, all right.
Yes, that's
Oh,
right.
wait, that's
You
Yes.
that's
Yeah, that's-
ECB.
you guys,
There's a
good.
meeting that night.
Okay,
Thanks.
Fantastic.
yeah, there had to be something. Something good news there too.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else? Okay.
I saw color pictures and also the black and white in here of the gateway signs.
Yes.
What, is there a plan to Yes, put them off then.
Well, kind of, yes. So the gateway signs are being constructed now. Remember, we did a budget adjustment, so we can get those all, created, and they're working on building those and everything. What the gateway sign team is, and we'll be doing an update, here on March 1st, when they meet, but, what they would do is like to do the first one on 332, the entrance to the hardware. Part of that includes an easement negotiation with the landowner, Mr. Janeko. And so we're gonna work that into the other negotiations that we're also in the middle of, yes. So that was the first one that they would like to go up, so that's kind of the concentration right now. Like, we went out, they kind of picked a spot a little farther down, because there's a spot where, right away is pretty tight right in there in a couple places, and then it fans in and out. But there's a spot right before the first telephone pole, so it would be before you get to the, it's past the fruit stand, but before his farm warehouse, where he has his produce warehouse. So there's a spot where there's a little bit more grassy area right there that they'd like to see if we'd be willing to work with us on that.
That same type of sign would be going out here too, huh? Out front here.
So that was never, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I forgot about that. That was never approved by the town board. So if you guys would like to do
Going
that,
out here,
it was never approved by the town board.
right. Should be consistent.
We'd have to vote
It's
on
up
it.
to you guys. We'll do whatever you want, but that officially hasn't been approved by the board.
How many signs were made? Was it 4 or 5?
Yes, something like, because they had a whole list. They had like a priority list of all the
Yeah.
different entrance points and everything. Right. I know there was, they were trying to focus on some of the main entry points into the town. And kind of working through some of that, but
Seems like we should have one out here, I mean. Yeah,
Are you making a,
I'd like to move.
would you like to move that we put a sign in the front?
Yeah,
We can do that by motion if you want to tonight.
I move that we do that.
Okay. Can we get a second?
What's the cost? Just,
It's kind of,
well, we created a capital project.
yeah, there's a capital project for it,
For these signs, for these gateway signs.
and I believe we had enough. Didn't we have enough covered? I believe my recollection is
We
that
had
we,
enough to cover those signs and number, but weren't we just a couple of meetings ago talking about all this excess cash and we don't know what to do with it?
I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. I wanna say ballpark for some reason, like $800 is sticking in my mind. I think it was under 1,000, give or
Yeah.
take, but ballpark. But
Didn't we approve just half of the signs though, instead of all of them?
Yeah,
the priority list.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's right, Gary, yeah.
So before that, were you asking a question, Gary, or were you seconding the motion to,
He seconded.
you seconded to match?
What was that again? I did second the motion, yes.
Terry's motion?
Yes.
All right, so we have a first and it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on Terry's motion?
What locations are we currently putting them in?
I recall, and I know you're not doing it for, I recall, got a line that it was like 5 and 20, 21, and 332 were at the top of their list.
21 south or north?
North, I believe.
21.
I don't know. It was a resolution that the board, do you guys remember when in November?
Yeah,
October?
last fall.
I think it was 5 and 20, both Centerfield and Geneva, if I were, coming in from,
Yeah, both.
if I recall. Yeah,
It went-
and 332. I'm guessing 21 south, probably.
21 south's on that Shaw property, so.
So any other discussions or comments on that? We're looking at about 800 for 1,000. Personally, I think it would be nice to have them uniform and, freshen up the one up in the front, make them kind of match. And I'm okay with that.
My only question, the reason I was asking where we're putting them and what we've ordered is there a price? I mean, if we're gonna get 3 or 4 more in, is the price lower for ordering 3 or 4 at a time instead of, oh, we need an extra one every couple of months, you know what I mean? So,
Well, the committee has been there, and that's why we agreed to have them do an update, to be honest with you, because they've been working on this for a couple of years now. And the gentleman I know was donating part of his and materials, and there was a whole combination of different things. The sign that is out front, I can tell you, was replaced. We had a windstorm 3 years ago, I think it was. And that sign was replaced, and that sign matches all of our park signs. And that one, boy, because it's that specialized foam, I want to say that may have even been like $2,000 or $3,000. That one wasn't cheap. But I think they're getting a better deal because this guy, I'm sorry, I just don't know.
How about I know it's been moved and seconded. How about we put this on for next month so we can have more data? And we can just have the numbers to look at and bring it as a resolution next month. You guys okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think the company, presented, and we looked at it, a total price for all the signs. And we agreed to go halfway on it, but we probably should have gone all the way.
Well, if we knew we'd have so much extra tax money coming in, maybe we would have.
So, all right, I know it was resolution made, the motion, so you okay pulling that motion, Terry?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, yeah, let's look at that for next month then. All right, supervisor, deputy supervisor, financial reports and overtime is in the packet. I'd like to thank Cheshire Fire Department, Adeline and Karen for coming out on a very balmy Saturday morning to help hand out masks. We gave out, despite the fact that the mandate was lifted on Wednesday and in most places, and we were doing this on Saturday. We were able to give out about 700 masks, and we would have been there for 2 hours, but we couldn't feel our fingers and we couldn't really talk. So we stayed for an hour and a half. The county had 3 successful distribution events with their masks. I know they gave out about 8,000, their test kits, 8,000 at Boughton Park, not Boughton Park, but Ontario County Park. And I will be getting 540 of the test kits of the boxes with 2 each. So we'll have 540 of the test kits to distribute, and you can work on a plan for those to get those out to town residents. And I know this is another resolution later on, but I do right now, I just want to take a moment and thank Caitlin for the record for her service and her time. Enjoyed every moment working with her and what she brought to the table. I'm sad to lose her here, but excited for her opportunities and the fact that I'll be able to work with her at the county and see what she can do there and the great ideas that she can bring there. So that is all for my report. All right, committees, boards, and commissions. Nothing at this time from the finance committee.
The one thing that we just realized today is the third Thursday of the month.
Yeah, it's the CCA, same time as the LDC.
And this will be the first month where it happens.
First month where it happens. It's up to you if you want to, I mean, since it's the one typically would be after a board meeting, we don't have to worry about an agenda. Depending on the month. It's up to you, we could do it to the 4th.
Either way, I mean, or just go ahead, it's just Terry and I.
You guys will be there, so let's cancel that for this month then, since you won't be there, Terry won't be there. I know that Adeline had mentioned that, and I know there are other people who want to be able to attend the LDC, attend that meeting.
Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 11, right? 10.
That's canceled.
All right.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too, is I don't know if you have any room to move yours closer to 11. Finance. I mean,
I can do
LDC
it.
is
I can,
usually
yeah,
an
I
hour,
mean,
it seems like.
I could even, if we wanted to bump it back, I could even do 11:30. If we wanted to even move it back a little bit more. So we can talk about, do you want to move it to 11:30 tomorrow so we still have it?
I got,
You're locked in?
at 11 o'clock, I'm out of there tomorrow.
You're locked
I
in?
have a medical thing.
All right, let's talk times. I know Gene just put this out on the agenda, but if we move it, let's move it for all of them and not just kind of have it piecemeal. We can talk about the 11 or even 11:15. We can figure out the best time for that, and see to make it work with the LDC timeframe.
So tomorrow's canceled.
Tomorrow's canceled, and then we will have the next one on the 2nd. We'll keep them for the 2nd and 3rd. Thursdays, but we just have to kind of nail down time. All right, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, so I guess that my work is done there with finance. And planning, Terry.
We had Public Works, Planning and Public Works Committee meeting last Friday. And we've been dancing around this transfer station thing for years, I guess. And we had, for this year, put in a request, which we did incorporate into the budget for another full-time person to work out there with that. But the guy that Jim had identified that would be good in that position took another position with somebody else. So at this point, there isn't anybody to put out there. But we talked about expanding the hours, and we just all of a sudden coalesced and said, look, we got the money put away for a transfer station. Maybe we ought to take a look at what that could look like. Jim had visited the facility in Victor a week or two ago. And a number of us have gone and looked at Manchester and looked at the big recycling effort in Rochester. And there are a lot of ideas there that can come together. So what they wanted to recommend to the board was that we asked Greg Hoteling was on Zoom at a meeting Friday, to give us a proposal on what the facility would look like. We had discussed this for quite some time, as I said. Al Kraus had drawn up some preliminary, this is what it could look like. And it's pretty straightforward what we have to do. So Greg is going to put a proposal together or to send to us. We can take a look at what the cost would be to design the facility to replace what we have. Something that would be a drive-through, that would be attendants there would take materials from you and put it in whatever bin it has to go in. And at some point, we're going to have a discussion on just exactly how we proceed. There are a number of ways to do it. Manchester and some of the other towns around here have pay-as-you-throw program where you pay some 10, 15 cents a pound for every pound of municipal solid waste disposal. And there are others that are by the bag, $2 a bag, whatever. Not proposing anything like that right now. We really want to get something more from the county and in terms of what they see coming down the road, because 2028, when that landfill is scheduled to close, only 6 years away. We started talking about this when it was, 10, 12 years away, and we're still talking about it. So now that we have a mole out there in the sustainability office, we can perhaps find out a little more about what's going on. But Jared, you can help us too. I mean, the county has been reluctant to really, they appointed somebody as the sustainability czar, Carla Jordan, and she's got a helper there, Regina. But there's no real, here's what we ought to do, They had commissioned that report that came out about a year ago. It was a 70-some odd page long thing, and it went through each of the facilities and transfer stations and also commented on the landfill, but there was no, here's what you ought to do. And it would really be great to have some kind of guidance before we go trotting off in some direction that they may say, gee, you should have gone this way. So, but getting a proposal on what a facility could look like, we can decide whether we want to pull the trigger and pay to have that design work done when we see it. But
it would also give us a starting point with the county.
Well, it would. And
to say this is where we're coming from, this is what we would like to do.
We could lead the county.
And we can say this is what our thought and our plan is. Yeah.
So there was that, and then let's see. Well, sanitary sewer, County Road 28. Greg has pretty much all the information he needs now. He's going to put together a rough estimate of what cost would be and get that to us so we can decide how to proceed there. Probably do the same thing we did in Cheshire. We'll send out a survey. Town's thinking of sewer in this area. Here's some rough idea of cost and what's your interest level. And based on that, go forward or not. The thinking is that with a larger population out there, it may be more affordable, you know, to people. We also have to consider that uptown there is going to be going like this, so merging those things together is going to be critically important. So Greg will have that in the next few weeks for us. So we're having that meeting with Cheshire people here on March 2nd, and that's where we have said we would use the bulk of our ARPA money if we proceed that way. So that's pretty much the discussion on Friday.
Has there been any initial feedback from Cheshire? I have not gotten much. I've spoken with a couple of people who are in favor of it, but that's only two, and one of them doesn't live there. So, 3, and 2 of them don't live there. So
I've heard both.
I have too, yeah.
People don't want it, and I've heard we desperately need it.
there's no gray area really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. Well, hopefully with the numbers different,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that, but thank you.
I have heard the same with
Yeah.
people in favor, strongly in favor and strongly opposed.
Yeah. All right, Councilman Davis, anything for ordinance?
Nothing other than our next meeting is March 7th.
All right, thank you. And then we don't have anything for economic development that I see. We did have Chairman Euler on for a minute, but he jumped off. Okay, nobody from the ZBA. Anything from the ECB?
We haven't met yet since our last town board meeting, but we are having one coming up soon, as
I bet it's gonna be March 3rd.
The only thing that's kind of new is we have someone who has applied for the open position on the ECB that will be interviewing and reviewing.
Excellent. Okay, CIC, anything new, Shauna? I know you gave us the dates.
Nothing new. We had a really nice meeting yesterday. Sorry about the music. Hold on one second. Did you want to hear the Encanto soundtrack?
Yes.
No, thank you.
All right. We had a really successful,
Bruno.
right? Oh my God.
Listen to Gary, gee.
Wow, Chris.
That was
Oh,
Chris.
that was Chris,
That was
okay.
Chris Nadler.
Just watched it this weekend.
Doug gave a great presentation on conservation options and the myriad that are available to towns, private landowners. So that was really great. And that's really the update. Our next meeting, actually, I'm inviting Jim Fletcher too, which I haven't done yet, Jim.
You just did.
Yep, so now I don't have to email you.
Yeah, you better.
I will. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, Parks and Rec, I do not see Chairman McNeil, nor for special events for the Ag Committee.
If I could just jump on the Ag Committee. The Ag Committee asked me to join them last week, which I did, and we went through, they're very concerned about a specific area of the town of Canandaigua and potential development pressure being, generally speaking, the area just west of the town hall going towards Bloomfield. The reason is those are some of the most prime soils. There should have been an email that went out with a link to that recording. If not, I'll make sure it goes out.
Okay.
But the one thing the Ag Committee was asking is that if you guys could just spend a half hour watching that, just to see the conversation, and then they'd like to continue that.
Could you send that to me again? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll make sure it goes out.
Thanks.
Everybody.
All right, so this brings us to our next privilege of the floor. All right,
Leave.
Lee. See, I'm not gonna ask Mr. Nadler to share during privilege of the floor. All right, so seeing no hands for that, that takes us to our resolutions. All right. 2022-072, the acceptance of the monthly financial reports. Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Resolution 22-73, acknowledgement and authorization of budget transfers by town manager.
So move.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-074, authorization of 2021 budget transfer for new park additions from the Parks Fund to the General Fund. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Resolution carries. 2022-075, the 2022 Highway Fund Budget Amendment Authorization.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries.
Scary.
Yeah. It's
You're
not
awful
me.
loud, Gary.
Yeah.
Stop
Making
turning
a lot of
pages,
racket,
Gary.
Yeah, Gary's rattling over there. You're like taking over the show, Mr. Davis.
Sorry.
Resolution 2022-076, appointment of a full-time parks laborer.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-077, speed limit study and TE9 submittal for North Road east of East Street.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-078, acceptance of MRB Group quote to assist Town with Community Choice Aggregation Program and authorization for town manager to execute documents.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So I
I'm a
have
little
a,
confused.
Now I'm more confused.
I have a question on that. It sounded like we needed to do an RFP for that third party to help us with this, and I'm
Well,
not sure.
Is that right?
That's why I asked that question about the third party, but the third party seems like comes in
They come
later in the
They
process.
come in down the line.
Yeah.
That reading the quote from MRB, they talk about some of the other steps that Rob was talking about that we would have to go through in order to get to that point. So,
Well, it sounds like they're offering to be the third party.
well,
That's
They
what
might
I
not be
my
qualified.
question
I don't know
was.
if they're qualified.
no, I think they're two different
They're
things.
two,
I think they're,
step A and step B.
yeah, I think
Okay.
B is the third party, those
Right.
four groups that he mentioned.
Yeah.
Very limited.
But MRB has done this with people, so that's why I asked them if they would give us a proposal.
You have,
No, you guys answered that pretty well there. So the local law has to be adopted and then we can do an RFP for whoever that third party. There are very specific third party providers that do this in our region, like Rock City, electricity or Rocks.
but it can't be any,
It wouldn't be.
it can't be, these guys can't.
Truthfully, honestly, if we still think Caitlin, he wouldn't.
No,
This is
right.
This is only to be the point person for us.
Yeah,
So they will get
Oh,
us,
it's
they'll get
just a
us to the
stopgap.
point, and then we'll see
Yeah.
if we still need,
But we
need a
need
point.
to, don't we need to first just create a reso that's the exploring CCA reso? Isn't that what it says?
And that's the local law. We actually have to do the local law for CCA. So we actually did adopt a climate smart community resolution that was years ago. But we never created a task force, so we'll have to update that. And then we can kind of go on that journey, but that's a parallel track. So the CSC and CCA, Community Choice Aggregation,
Okay.
that's specifically for this. So that's that point person. And then, of course, MRD has done this with others to help us with that overall journey. The other thing I would say is if we're able to start to get positions filled, we're working
we
on.
might not even need this, and this is up to 4,000, correct? So it's, right, it's up to that amount. So at least this gets the ball rolling, and this can probably get us to the local law. so we can get moving on the process. If that's
Right.
where we want to go.
I'm still confused because I thought he said we just had to, the first step was path a reso that we would explore CCA. I thought that's all.
What's a
It's a
reso?
local law.
Resolution.
There's a
Sorry.
couple of different steps, but the very first step to do that, you actually have to go with the law, which obviously is multiple times, you do that. My understanding, Terry, help me out here, but my understanding is you guys, as the planning public works specifically wanted somebody, and I think you actually even have to designate one person. And so that was the whole discussion originally, Caitlin was gonna be that point person, and now that Matt Horton and MRB is going to be that point person.
Exactly. Caitlin was going to do that. She and Sarah had both looked at it. They had a lot of discussions with Rod last year. Well, I think you were part of that, someone, but she was going to do that in the climate smart community, what's the other, CEC?
Yeah, CSC.
CSC.
Smart community.
That's the one that has, it's like a lengthy list of different things that you have to do. We've done a lot of this stuff, but they're in different areas and somebody needs to pull it together. Going with the aggregation program first was really just to get our phone out, see what's going on. Yeah, Caitlin would have been great at this, and that's her passion in life, but I don't know, for us anyway. But having somebody that, on our staff that has that interest and some background in that, we don't really have a position that, open that would serve that. I mean, it's like, so using somebody like MRB that's been through this with other communities, I mean, that's an option for us. I don't know that we want to have a full-time person. I don't know what else that person would do. I don't think it's a full-time job, but it's going to consume time.
Right. Well, and it makes sense to start.
Yeah.
This gets us going down that road. Okay. Now I can't remember where we were. So Gary was flipping papers, or he was vacuuming. So Gary was either flipping papers or vacuuming, one of the two. We're not quite sure.
You motioned and
So
seconded.
motioned and seconded. We've had our discussion. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-079, approving the 5-year extension to existing mutual aid agreement with Ontario County and authorizing town manager to execute documents. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I don't know, I says town manager, but you as the town supervisor actually have to execute that one, so we just amend the title on that.
Okay, so it's in here? All right. So we'll amend town manager to town supervisor. Okay. What's that? Okay, so the amended resolution has been motioned.
I'll second the
And-
amended.
and
resolution.
Okay, it's a good thing we have Karen here too.
Yes, Karen's very handy. She's already proving her worth.
Yeah. All right, any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Resolution 2022-080, acknowledgement of annual reports.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries. Resolution 2022-081, accepting the resignation of senior clerk Caitlin. Nobody wants to second it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm thinking about voting nay. If I
Voting
vote nay,
nay.
then I stay, come back.
I don't know.
What happens
Unfortunately,
then?
unfortunately, I don't
All
think it
vote
works.
nay.
I don't think it works that way, unfortunately. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Other than sadness? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So noted that Councilwoman Rudolph voted nay to the resignation. Okay, one.
Yep.
All right. Resolution 2022-082, appointment of the highway clerk.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-083, authorization for the town of Canandaigua town manager to execute extension agreement with Ontario County for use of the boathouse and office at Onondaga Park.
So moved.
Yeah, moved and seconded.
And third.
And thirded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And resolution carries. Make sure I don't miss it. 2022-084, the authorization for the town manager to execute land lease renewal.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Doug, could you just explain that with the finance committee again? A little confusing.
So, what this is actually, if you go to the back gate of the town hall campus here, the property directly in front of it is a 57 acre parcel. The town of Canandaigua purchased and that parcel has been leased out for many, many years for agricultural use and specifically to MR Farms. Part of the reason why MR Farms was selected is they farm every parcel all the way around it. So they continue to till crosses over the property line. So they pay us an amount per acre.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I think I eyed that. I can't remember. Motion carries. Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-085, authorization to repair damaged vehicle.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2022-086, Lincoln Hill Catering Alcohol Beverages License Notice.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries. And then this one is up on the screen. This is resolution 22-087, the one that I brought to you guys earlier this week regarding our support of the land trust. So this is supporting the Finger Lakes Land Trust application for funding assistance to acquire conservation easement in the town of Canandaigua.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. All right, so this brings us to the approval of the meeting minutes from January 31st, February 3rd, and February 7th. Can I get a motion to approve all three sets of minutes?
So moved.
Right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 They're approved. All right, Gene, payment of the bills.
Utility abstract dated February 3rd, 2022, totaling $194,636.22. The general fund of $4,391.55. The highway fund of $469.50. Water district of $3,885.80. Custodial funds of $185,889.37. Town board abstract dated February 16th, 2022, totaling $200,979.75. General fund of $41,404.87. Highway fund of $152,235.67. Capital projects of $375. Lighting districts of $1,027.26. And water districts of $5,936.95.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the bills?
Well,
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those are approved. Okay, this takes us to our final privilege of the floor. Feeling leave, still with us, okay? We do not have any other business, and it's on here, so one more privilege of the floor.
last chance,
All
Lee.
good? Okay. All right, so we do have, and we have more than just this one, correct? So we have one executive session being requested by the town manager for the employment history of a particular individual, including town board, town attorney, town manager, the town clerk, and the town highway and water superintendent. And another executive session on the purchase or sale of real property where public discussion could affect value. History of a particular individual. Who does that include? Okay, and that one will include the town board. So we'll do the first two, and then we will do the final one. And I don't anticipate any action being taken for everyone, all those who are in the audience.
You don't have to stick around, Lee.
Bye, Lee.
See you, Lee. Thanks for coming.
I need a motion.
All right, I'm leaving. Good night.
Motion to enter executive session.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.